All right, you knuckleheads. Take a good look at it. The Order of the Lead Boot, the Battalion Booby Prize, awarded every 6 months to the most fouled-up platoon in the outfit. Now, tomorrow, our 6 months are up, and I want to get rid of that thing once and for all. If we win it tomorrow, we will be the first platoon in history ever to win it 3 times in a row. And since we were the first platoon in history to win it twice in a row, I'm the laughingstock of the NCO club. Now, some of you might ask, why us? Are we being picked on? I don't think so. Why? Because certain members of this platoon have worked very hard to win this stupid boot. How? By performing acts of stupidness. Now, this time, we have a chance to get rid of this boot. Because Sergeant Hacker's platoon has been running you a close second in foul-ups. So if you can keep your noses clean until noon tomorrow, this boot will wind up in his possession for the next 6 months. And for your sakes, it had better. Okay, now look sharp and hit them work details. Platoon, take, hut, dismiss, move, move, move. Pyle, hold it. Since you are the one mainly responsible for us having this thing in the first place, I want you to shine it until you can see your face in it. Just to remind you that you're the biggest knucklehead in the platoon.
How you doing?
Okay, I guess, except I'm having a little trouble holding the boot still. But Sergeant Carter said he wanted me to be able to see my face in it.
Well, don't worry about it, Gomer. There's worse things in life than not being able to see your face in a boot. Stay with it. I'm going to post this stuff on the bulletin board. Hi, Sarge.
Where's Sergeant Carter?
He's not here. Do you know where he went, Gomer?
Oh, he went over to headquarters, Sergeant Hacker. At least I think so.
Shining up the old booby boot, huh, Pyle?
Yes, Sergeant Carter wanted it looking real nice for battalion ceremonies tomorrow.
You guys have had it so long, I forgot what it looks like. You're never going to get rid of it, are you?
Well, I don't know, Sarge, but I think maybe we got a chance.
Oh, yeah? What makes you think so?
Well, I don't mean to be disrespectful, but Sergeant Carter said that your platoon might be in a running.
Oh, I don't think so, Pyle. Face it, you guys are about to set a new record with 3 in a row. But why fight it? You've earned it. Shine, Pyle. You're not shining. Shine on, Gomer Pyle, up in the blue sky.
Don't worry about it, Gomer. His chances of getting that boot are just as good as ours. All we have to do is stay on the ball for the next 24 hours. Listen for the phone, will you? I'll be right outside.
I figured it would be easier to shine if I slipped it on like I was doing my own boot.
You're kidding.
No, it went on just fine, but now I can't get it off.
Oh, brother. Here, sit down. Let me pull it off for you. It's really on there. What'd you have to put it on for?
I told you so I could shine it up good. I wanted it to look real nice for the next platoon that gets it.
How's the next platoon going to get it if you're wearing it? Oh, boy. You know who's going to get blamed for this, don't you? Me.
Well, I don't see why.
Because I was here. For Carter, that's enough.
Gosh. Sorry. What are we going to do?
The only thing we can do. Here, sit down. Sit down. Let me have a look at it. Oh, good. There's just a couple of wing nuts holding it on. We'll take this board off, Go down to the metal shop, have the boot cut off your foot, and have them welded back together again. They can weld it back so nobody will notice.
Well, I can't walk around with this thing on, Duke. And besides, I'm supposed to be on cleanup detail in 5 minutes.
Okay, don't panic. Let's figure this thing out scientifically. You've got to be on cleanup detail in 5 minutes, otherwise Carter will come looking for you, right?
I guess so.
Then it's very simple. You got to be there.
1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. To your left. To your left. 1, 2, 3. Detail. Hold. Hold out.
What is that?
Gomer, what are you doing here?
Well, I'm mopping the floor like Sergeant Carter said.
Gomer, he's liable to walk in here any minute. Finish up and get out of here. You want him to see you with that thing on?
But Duke, I ain't finished yet.
You're finished. Let's go. Come on.
Duke.
All right, you people, knock off for chow.
Sergeant Carter.
Quick, hide the boot.
What happened to them supply requisitions we sent over to the... Pyle, you know you got your foot in the bucket?
Well, so I have.
Well, will you look at that? His foot's in the bucket. He probably doesn't even know it. The water must be the same temperature as the air.
Hold it, Slater. Pyle, get your stupid foot out of that stupid bucket.
Yeah, get outside and get out of it, Gomer. You look silly in it. Come on.
Hold it. Slater, what's going on here? Pyle, get your foot out of there.
Well, fact is, Sergeant, it's stuck in there.
Slater, grab that bucket and get that knucklehead out of there.
Right, Sergeant. Sarge, don't do it. There's a perfectly logical explanation for all of this. If you'll just allow me to...
We see what happened, Sergeant. After you told me to shine it up real good, I had the awfulest time holding it still, so I...
Shut up, Pyle. Slater, did you know about this?
Well, we thought we'd wait till after duty hours and go over to the metal shop and have it cut off.
Cut off? You were going to have it cut off?
We was gonna have it welded back together again.
And what about the seam? What were you going to cover the seam with? You two knuckleheads were going to ruin it, and then I'd have to explain to the colonel how it got ruined.
Well, there's no other way, Sarge. It's really stuck on you.
I'll show you how stuck it is. Slater, grab that boot. All right, Slater, pull.
Oh!
Is it coming, Go?
I don't think so.
Knock it off, Slater, pull.
It's no use, Sarge. It's not gonna work.
No, it's not going to work. It's not going to work with just two of us pulling. Pull! Pull! Pull!
Got it, Sarge. Thanks, man.
I still don't get it. How could he be stupid enough to get stuck on this thing in the first place?
Well, he thought it'd be easier to shine if it was on his foot.
Yeah, but if he got it on, why couldn't he get it off? That's the part I don't get. Anything that goes on has got to come off.
Yeah, you'd think so.
Paul! Paul! Come on, Paul! Right there! How many times have I told you to keep that file locked?
Why don't we go get the guys and do like we did with Gomer? Tug-of-war.
And let them see me wearing this thing? What, are you crazy? We just need something to loosen it up, like powder. Yeah, that's it, foot powder. In the locker, Slater, get it.
Oh, here it is, Sarge. Toosier Fresh. Gardenia scented foot powder for lovely smelling feet.
Give me that. Sprinkle some in the boot.
See if you can work it in a little bit, Sarge. How's it feel?
Not bad. I think it's working in. Let's give it a try. If I ever get this thing off, I'm gonna have Pyle Bronson mounted. Okay, go ahead. Oh, wait a minute.
What's wrong, Sarge?
The chair's gonna move again, dummy. I need something solid to hang on to.
Good thinking, Sarge. What?
The window. I'll hang on to the windowsill.
Why, Sergeant Carter, I'm glad everything worked out all right with that boot. That sure was a smart idea of yours. What you doing, Sergeant?
Slater, I'm slipping.
Sergeant Carter, what in the world's happening? Here, let me help you.
Well, if you touch me, I'll kill you.
Sergeant, you're wearing the order of the lead boot. What happened to you?
Well, Sergeant Carter accidentally got stuck in the boot and we were trying to pull him out.
Oh, well, don't worry, Sergeant. I'll run next door and get the fellers, and we'll have you right out of it in a second, just like you done with me.
Pyle, come back here. You won't go nowhere, and you won't say nothing to nobody. There are 3 people on this base that know about this, and that's the way it's gonna stay.
Sarge, why don't we do what we were going to do with Gomer? Take it down to the metal shop and have it cut off.
We can't do that, do you? Don't you remember what Sergeant Carter said? When we welded it back up, it'd leave a seam.
So it'll leave a seam. So what? Let's get it off.
Suppose somebody sees us going over there.
Nobody'll see us. We'll camouflage it.
Hey, Vince! Hey, Vince! Hey, Vince! What happened to your foot?
My foot?
Yeah.
You mean this foot?
Yeah, what happened?
Oh, well, a large thing landed on it.
No kidding, what was it?
Well,
It was a big lead thing.
Lead?
yeah, this big lead thing, boom, right on my foot.
Well, I'll be darned. How long do you have to wear that thing?
Well, the sergeant's on his way to get that taken care of right now.
But the hospital's a long way, Vince. How come you didn't drive?
Yeah. How come we didn't drive?
Well, we, exercise. The doctor says he's supposed to exercise it, Sarge.
Yeah, you know, walk around on it so I don't get stiff.
Hey, Vince, where you going? The hospital's this way.
Oh, yeah. That's right. The hospital's that way. I forgot. Can you imagine that?
It's 16:45, Sarge. They're gone.
Gone? What do you mean gone? Why would they go so early? Suppose there's an emergency.
What kind of emergency can you have in a metal shop?
This is an emergency.
Maybe we could borrow a little saw from the hobby shop. Then Duke and me could saw you.
Forget it, Pyle. I ain't about to let you 2 dummies close to me with anything sharp. Come on, let's go.
Well, don't worry about it, Sergeant. Science Metal Shop said they'd be open at 7:30 in the morning.
Don't worry. The ceremony's at noon. How do I know how long it's going to take them to get this thing off and get it welded back together again? Oh! Oh, is that sore?
All that pulling and tugging, it's really swollen in there, Sarge.
That's right. It'll feel a lot better in the morning, Sergeant, after the swelling goes down.
Don't be an idiot, Pyle. I ain't going to bed with this thing on. We got to get it off tonight.
But as long as your foot's swollen in there, it won't come off.
Then we'll just have to get the swelling down. Hey, that's it. What do you do when you sprain your ankle? You put ice on it, and that takes the swelling down.
We can't put any ice on your foot. It's inside our foot. It's on it.
Down when we cool me off. And we'll do that in the coldest place I know, the freezer in the mess hall.
He's been in there about 20 minutes. He should be about done.
We better check it.
Sergeant Carter, are you all right?
He can't hear you. The earmuffs.
Oh. Sergeant Carter, does it feel like it's loosening up any?
Yeah, I think so. Try it again. Yeah, I think I felt it slip a little bit. Just leave me alone a few more minutes and it'll come right off.
Right, Sergeant.
Who's in there?
It's Hacker.
Mercy, what we gonna do?
We gotta get out of here. Open the back door. I'll get the Sarge. Sarge, quick. It's Sergeant Hacker. We gotta get out of here. Sergeant Hacker's coming in.
Hacker, we gotta get out of here.
Right.
The back door's locked.
Is that you back there, Jensen?
We're trapped. I can't let him see me with his boot on. You guys tell him you stopped him for a snack or something.
Do stick his foot.
It's empty.
Slater, Pyle, what are you two doing here?
Well, we were hungry. We decided to have a little midnight snack.
You what?
Well, you see what happened really
But this is a Marine Corps mess hall, not your mother's kitchen. You want a snack, you'll have it with 200 other guys at breakfast. Now get out of here before I have you both thrown in the brig.
Right, Sarge. Come on, Gomer.
Good night, Charlie.
It's where, Sarge?
In the freezer. Well, you didn't expect me to carry it out right in front of him, did you? Go get it, Pyle.
But Sergeant Hacker just told us to get out of there or he'd have us thrown in the brig.
Just get the boot, Pyle.
Hey, Sergeant Hacker.
What do you want, Pyle?
Well, sir, to tell you the truth, I came back to get that boot.
Oh, you did, huh? Well, suppose you just tell me what the battalion booby boot is doing in my freezer in the middle of the night.
Well, sir, Sergeant Carter left it in there, and he sent me back to get it.
I know he left it in there, Pyle, but what was he doing in there with it?
Well, sir,
Give it to me straight, Pyle, or I'll have you thrown in the brig for trespassing where you don't belong.
well, sir, he was wearing it.
Huh?
Well, you see, what happened was I accidentally put my foot into it, and we just had an awful time getting it off. And then I guess Sergeant Carter got kind of curious and wondered if he could put his foot in and get it out.
You're kidding.
No, sir, I guess there's just something about that big old empty boot that just kind of makes people want to put their foot in it, you know, maybe out of curiosity.
Yeah? Well, I'm not drawn, and I'm not curious. So suppose you just beat it now, Pyle.
Well, Sergeant Hacker, could I have the boot back?
No, Pyle. I'm going to give it to the colonel, so he can give it back to Sergeant Carter. But the colonel's going to ask me where I got it. So I'm just going to tell him what you just told me.
What's taking him so long?
Maybe he got locked in the freezer.
I ain't that lucky. Where's the boot, Pyle?
Sergeant Hacker's got it.
Hacker's got it.
When I opened the freezer door there, he was standing with it in his hand.
Why didn't you ask him for it?
Well, I did, Duke, but then he asked me how it got there.
And?
Well, since I couldn't tell him a lie, I told him.
You told him? Pyle, now I gotta go back in there, and I gotta beg him to give me that boot back and to keep his mouth shut, or I'll never be able to show my face at the NCO club again. All right, Pyle. I'm gonna get that boot back, and this time, I ain't gonna put your foot in it. I'm gonna stuff all of you in it. Charlie?
Yes?
Look, Charlie, we've known each other for a long time, right? I mean, I know we've had our differences, but something like this boot thing, well, it's like Pyle said. I was the victim of circumstances. It could happen to anybody. Look, Charlie, if you give me the boot back and promise not to say anything, I'll give you anything.
Anything?
You name it, Charlie.
Okay. Neither one of us says anything about this business, and you got a deal.
Oh, thanks, Charlie. Thank you. What do you want?
Help me get it off.
I had him. I had him right where I wanted him, and I let him off the hook. Why didn't you stop me?
Oh, we didn't know, Sarge. Who figured he'd be dumb enough to...
Watch it!
Don't you think we better check on Sergeant Hacker? He's been in there pretty near half an hour.
Yeah, I guess you're right.
All right. Hold it right there, you men.
Oh, Lieutenant Anderson. Good evening, sir.
Oh, it's you, Sergeant Carter. What are you and your men doing here at this time of night?
Well, sir, we,
How much longer, Vince? I'm freezing to death.
Sergeant Hacker?
Yes, sir. It seems I got my foot caught in this boot, sir. I was just trying to get it off.
Thank you, Sergeant.
For what, sir?
Well, at our staff meeting this afternoon, we couldn't decide whether your platoon or Sergeant Carter's was going to get this award tomorrow. I think you've just broken the tie. Good night, gentlemen. By the way, what makes you men think sitting in a freezer is going to help him get that boot off?
Oh, it'll work just fine, sir. Same way we got it off Sergeant Carter just a while ago.
The way you got it off Sergeant Carter? Tell me about it, Pyle. I think we may be all tied up again.
The Tale of the Unyielding Boot. It was a bright and brisk morning at the United States Marine Corps base, the kind of day that smelled of starched olive drab and floor wax. Private Gomer Pyle, a man whose heart was significantly larger than his tactical awareness, walked with a spring in his step that suggested he had not a single worry in the entire world. Beside him, however, walked a man who seemed to be composed entirely of worries and high-decibel frustration. Staff Sergeant Vince Carter was moving with a pronounced, metallic clumping sound. This was because his right foot was firmly encased in a massive, heavy, lead-lined boot known throughout the battalion as the booby boot, a relic from the metal shop that was never intended for human wear. "Vince, what happened to your foot?" Gomer asked, his voice filled with genuine concern and a touch of wide-eyed wonder. He leaned down slightly, peering at the gray monstrosity attached to his superior officer. Sergeant Carter stopped in his tracks, his face turning a shade of crimson that nearly matched the stripes on his sleeves. "My foot?" he barked, his voice echoing off the barracks walls. "Yeah," Gomer replied, nodding enthusiastically. "You mean this foot?" Yeah, Gomer said, pointing to the obvious. "What happened?" "Well, a large thing landed on it," Sergeant Carter snapped, trying to maintain some shred of dignity while standing lopsided on the gravel path. "No kidding," Gomer exclaimed, slapping his knee. "What was it?" "Well, it was a big lead thing," the sergeant replied, his teeth gritted. "Lead?" Gomer asked. "Yeah, this big lead thing," Carter groaned. "Boom, right on my foot." "Well, I will be darned," Gomer said, shaking his head in disbelief. "How long do you have to wear that thing?" "Well, the sergeant is on his way to get that taken care of right now," Carter said, though his confidence seemed to be wavering. He looked down at the boot, which looked less like footwear and more like a permanent piece of industrial machinery. "But the hospital is a long way," Vince, Gomer pointed out, looking toward the distant horizon where the medical wing sat. "How come you did not drive?" "Yeah, how come we did not drive?" chimed in Private Jackson, who was trailing behind them. "Well, we, exercise," Carter stammered, looking for a plausible excuse. "The doctor said he is supposed to exercise us, Sarge. Yeah, walk around on it so I do not get stiff." "Hey, Vince, where are you going?" Gomer asked, noticing the sergeant veering off toward the supply depot. "The hospital is this way." "Oh, yeah, that's right," Carter said, pivoting awkwardly. "The hospital is that way. I forgot. Can you imagine that?" The sun began to dip lower in the sky as the trio reached the metal shop, only to find the heavy sliding doors locked tight. A small sign hung on the handle, swaying gently in the evening breeze. "It is 16:45, Sarge," Jackson noted, checking his watch. "They're gone." "Gone?" Carter roared. "What do you mean, gone? Why would they go so early? Suppose there is an emergency?" "What kind of emergency can you have in a metal shop?" Jackson asked. "This," Carter shouted, gesturing wildly at his heavy foot. "This is an emergency. Maybe we could borrow a little saw from the hobby shop?" Gomer suggested, his face lighting up with a helpful idea. "Forget it, Pyle," Carter growled. "I ain't about to let you two dummies close to me with anything sharp. Come on, let's go." "Well, do not worry about it, Sergeant," Gomer said soothingly. "The science metal shop said they would be open at 7:30 in the morning. Don't worry. The ceremony is at noon. How do I know how long it is going to take them to get this thing off and get it welded back together again?" Carter fretted. Then he let out a sharp hiss of pain. Oh, it is that sore. All that pulling and tugging, it is really swollen in there, Sarge." "That is right," Gomer agreed. "It will feel a lot better in the morning, Sergeant, after the swelling goes down." "Don't be an idiot, Pyle," Carter snapped. I ain't going to bed with this thing on. We gotta get it off tonight. But as long as your foot is swollen in there, it won't come off, Gomer observed logically. Then we will just have to get the swelling down, Carter declared. Hey, that is it. What do you do when you sprain your ankle? You put ice on it, and that takes the swelling down. We can't put any ice on your foot, Gomer pointed out. It is inside your foot. It takes it down when we cool me off, Carter explained, a desperate plan forming in his mind. And we will do that in the coldest place I know, the freezer in the mess hall. The mess hall was silent and shadowed as the three men snuck inside. The giant walk-in freezer hummed with a low, ominous vibration. Gomer and Jackson stood outside the heavy insulated door, shifting their weight as the minutes ticked by. He has been in there about 20 minutes, Gomer whispered, checking the wall clock. He should be about done. We had better check it. Gomer pulled the lever and cracked the door open. A cloud of white vapor spilled out onto the floor. Sergeant Carter sat inside on a crate of frozen peas, wearing a pair of thick earmuffs and shivering violently. Sergeant Carter, are you all right? Gomer called out. He cannot hear you, Jackson noted. The earmuffs. Gomer stepped closer. Sergeant Carter, does it feel like it is loosening up any? Yeah, I think so, the sergeant chattered, his breath visible in the frigid air. Try it again, Gomer urged. Yeah, I think I felt it slip a little bit, Carter said, his voice trembling from the cold. Just leave me alone a few more minutes, and it will come right off. Right, Sergeant, Gomer said, stepping back out and closing the door. Suddenly, the heavy outer door of the mess hall creaked open. The sound of heavy boots echoed in the dining area. Who was in there? A booming voice demanded. It is Hacker, Gomer hissed, his eyes widening. Mercy, what are we going to do? Jackson, we have got to get out of here, Gomer whispered frantically. Open the back door. I will get the Sarge. Gomer ducked back into the freezer. Sarge, quick. It is Sergeant Hacker. We have got to get out of here. Sergeant Hacker is coming in. Hacker, we have got to get out of here. Right, Carter agreed, scrambling to his feet with a clatter. He has used the back door slot. Is that your back there, Jackson? Gomer asked as they scrambled toward the rear exit. We are trapped. I cannot let him see me with this boot on, Carter panicked. You guys tell him you stopped him for a snack or something. Carter dove behind a stack of crates just as Sergeant Hacker rounded the corner. Hacker looked around suspiciously, his eyes falling on Gomer and Jackson. He looked at the floor and saw the heavy lead boot sitting abandoned near the freezer door. He kicked his foot against it. It was empty. Slater, Pyle, what are you two doing here? Hacker asked, crossing his arms. Well, we were hungry, and we decided to have a little midnight snack, Gomer said, offering a weak, innocent smile. You what? Hacker asked, incredulous. Well, you see, we haven't really, Gomer started. This is a Marine Corps mess hall, not your mother's kitchen, Hacker barked. You want a snack, you will have it with 200 other guys at breakfast. Now get out of here, before I have you both thrown in the brig. Right, Sarge, Gomer said quickly. Come on, go. Good night, Charlie. Once they were safely outside in the darkness, Sergeant Carter emerged from the shadows of the loading dock, still limping, but without the metal weight. It is where, Sarge? Gomer asked. In the freezer, Carter whispered urgently. Well, you did not expect me to carry it out right in front of him, did you? Go get it, Pyle. But Sergeant Hacker just told us to get out of there, or he would have us thrown in the brig, Gomer reminded him. Just get the boot, Pyle. Carter ordered. Gomer sighed and trudged back inside. He found Sergeant Hacker still standing in the kitchen, holding the lead boot and looking at it with a puzzled expression. Hey, Sergeant Hacker, Gomer said softly. What do you want, Pyle? Hacker asked. Well, sir, to tell you the truth, I came back to get that boot, Gomer explained. Oh, you did, huh? Hacker said, a smirk forming on his face. Well, suppose you just tell me what the battalion booby boot is doing in my freezer in the middle of the night. Well, sir, Sergeant Carter left it in there, and he sent me back to get it, Gomer replied truthfully. I know he left it in there, Pyle, Hacker said. But what was he doing in there with it? Well, sir, Gomer hesitated. Give it to me straight, Pyle, Hacker threatened, or I will have you thrown in the brig for trespassing where you don't belong. Well, Sir, he was wearing it, Gomer confessed.
Huh?
Hacker blinked. Well, you see, what happened was I accidentally put my foot into it, and we just had an awful time getting it off, Gomer explained, his words tumbling out. Then I guess Sergeant Carter got kind of curious and wondered if he could put his foot in and get it out. You were kidding, Hacker laughed. No, sir, I guess there's just something about that big old empty boot that just kind of makes people want to put their foot in it. Maybe out of curiosity, Gomer said, trying to be helpful. Yeah, well, I am not drawn and I am not curious, Hacker sneered.
So suppose you just beat it now, Pyle.
Well, Sergeant Hacker, could I have the boot back? Gomer asked. No, Pyle, I am going to give it to the Colonel so he can give it back to Sergeant Carter, Hacker said with a malicious grin. But the Colonel's going to ask me where I got it, so I am just going to tell him what you just told me. Outside, Carter and Jackson were pacing. What is taking him so long? Jackson asked. Maybe he got locked in the freezer. I ain't that lucky, Carter muttered. Gomer finally appeared, looking dejected and empty-handed. Where's the boot, Pyle? Carter demanded. Sergeant Hacker has got it, Gomer reported. Hacker has got it? Carter yelled. When I opened the freezer door there, he was standing with it in his hand, Gomer said. Why didn't you ask him for it? Carter asked. Well, I did, but then he asked me how it got there, Gomer explained. And? Carter held his breath. Well, since I could not tell him a lie, I told him, Gomer admitted. You told him? Carter groaned, burying his face in his hands. Pyle, now I got to go back in there, and I got to beg him to give me that boot back and to keep his mouth shut, or I will never be able to show my face to the NCO club again. All right, Pyle, I'm going to get that boot back, and this time I am going to put your foot in it. I am going to stuff all of you in it. Carter marched back into the mess hall. Hacker was sitting at a table, the boot placed prominently in front of him. Charlie? Carter said, his voice uncharacteristically soft. Yes, Hacker replied, not looking up. Look, Charlie, we have known each other for a long time, right? Carter began, leaning on the table. I mean, I know we have had our differences, but something like this boot thing, well, it is like Pyle said, I was the victim of circumstances. It could happen to anybody. Look, Charlie, if you give me the boot back and promise not to say anything, I will give you anything. Anything? Hacker asked, finally looking up with a glint in his eye. You name it, Charlie, Carter promised. Okay, Hacker said, standing up. Neither one of us says anything about this business, and you have got a deal. Oh, thanks, Charlie, Carter said, feeling a massive weight lift from his shoulders. Thank you. What do you want? Help me get it off, Hacker said, pointing down. Carter looked down. To his horror, he saw that Hacker's own foot was now wedged deep inside the heavy lead boot. A short while later, the scene in the freezer had repeated itself, but with a different protagonist. Sergeant Hacker sat on the frozen crate, shivering in his earmuffs, while Carter, Gomer, and Jackson stood guard outside. I had him, Carter muttered to the others. I had him right where I wanted him, and I let him off the hook. Why didn't you stop me? Oh, we did not know, Sarge, Gomer said, who figured he would be dumb enough to. Watch it, Carter warned. Don't you think we had better check on Sergeant Hacker? Gomer asked. He has been in there a pretty good half hour. Yeah, I guess you are right, Carter sighed. They opened the freezer door, but before they could reach Hacker, a flashlight beam cut through the darkness of the mess hall. All right, hold it right there, you men, a stern voice commanded. Oh, Lieutenant Anderson, Carter said, snapping to attention. Good evening, sir. Oh, it is you, Sergeant Carter, the lieutenant said, approaching them. What are you and your men doing here at this time of night? Well, sir, Carter began, searching for an explanation. Suddenly, Hacker's voice drifted out from the freezer. Not much longer, Vince. I am freezing at that. Sergeant Hacker? The lieutenant asked, peering into the cold room. Yes, sir, Hacker replied, stumbling out with the boot still attached. It seems I got my foot caught in his boot, sir. I was just trying to get it off. The lieutenant looked from Hacker to Carter and back again. He then smiled. Thank you, Sergeant. For what, sir? Hacker asked, confused. Well, at our staff meeting this afternoon, we could not decide whether your platoon or Sergeant Carter's was going to get this award tomorrow, the lieutenant explained. I think you have just broken the tie. Good night, gentlemen. The lieutenant began to walk away, then paused and turned back. By the way, what makes you men think sitting in a freezer is going to help him get that boot off? Oh, it will work just fine, sir, Gomer piped up cheerfully. Same way we got it off Sergeant Carter just a while ago. The way you got it off, Sergeant Carter? The lieutenant asked, his eyebrows shooting up. Tell me about it, Pyle. Carter groaned as the lieutenant stepped back toward them, a notebook appearing in his hand. I think we may be all tied up again, the lieutenant mused. Gomer smiled at the lieutenant, ready to tell the whole story from the very beginning, while Sergeant Carter simply leaned against the freezer door and closed his eyes, wondering if the lead boot was large enough for two people to hide in. It was another typical, wonderful morning in the United States Marine Corps. Golly! The great boot embarrassment. The sun was beginning its slow descent over the Marine Corps base, casting long and rhythmic shadows across the perfectly manicured grounds. In the heart of this disciplined world lived Gomer Pyle, a man whose innocence was as vast as the ocean and whose ability to find trouble was equally unmatched. Beside him, as always, was the formidable Sergeant Vince Carter, a man whose blood pressure was often at the mercy of Gomer's unintended antics. On this particular afternoon, the air was thick with a strange sort of tension, the kind that usually preceded a disaster of grand proportions. Sergeant Carter stood with a grimace that could peel paint off a baroque wall. He looked down at his own limb, then back at Gomer, his voice trembling with a mixture of disbelief and simmering rage. He pointed a shaking finger toward his lower extremity and asked what had happened to his foot. Gomer, with a look of genuine concern and wide-eyed wonder, tilted his head and repeated the question as if the answer were written in the clouds. He asked if the sergeant meant that specific foot, the one currently encased in a massive, heavy, and altogether immovable object. Vince Carter sighed, a sound like steam escaping a high-pressure valve. He confirmed that yes, he was indeed referring to that foot. Gomer leaned in closer, his face a mask of earnest helpfulness. He explained that a large thing had landed on it. When the sergeant pressed for more detail, Gomer clarified that it was a big lead thing. A lead thing of significant proportions had decided to make contact with the sergeant's anatomy with a resounding boom. The situation was dire. The sergeant inquired about how long he would be forced to wear this metallic monstrosity. Gomer informed him that another sergeant was currently on his way to find a solution. However, a new problem arose. The hospital was a significant distance away, and the sun was not getting any higher in the sky. Gomer asked why they had not simply driven the vehicle. Sergeant Carter, trying to maintain some semblance of dignity, explained that they were engaging in exercise. The medical professionals had suggested movement to prevent stiffness, but as they trudged along, Gomer realized they were heading in the wrong direction. He pointed out that the hospital was actually the other way. Carter stopped, blinked, and admitted that he had forgotten. It was a momentary lapse in judgment caused by the throbbing weight on his leg. By the time they reached the metal shop, the clock showed 16 hours and 45 minutes. The doors were locked and the lights were dimmed. The sergeant was incredulous. He demanded to know why they would depart so early, especially when an emergency was at hand. A fellow Marine suggested that an emergency in a metal shop was a rare occurrence, but Carter roared that his current predicament was the very definition of an emergency. Gomer, ever the optimist, suggested borrowing a small saw from the hobby shop. This idea was met with immediate rejection. Carter declared that he would not let two individuals he deemed dummies anywhere near him with a sharp instrument. The news from the science metal shop was not much better. They would not be open until 7:30 in the morning. With the official ceremony scheduled for noon, the sergeant was a nervous wreck. He worried about the time it would take to remove the metal and weld his boot back together. The physical toll was becoming evident. All the pulling and tugging had caused significant swelling. Gomer noted that it looked quite sore. He suggested that it would feel much better in the morning after the swelling subsided. Carter, however, was in no mood for patience. He refused to go to bed with a lead weight attached to his body. A plan was formed in the desperation of the night. If the swelling prevented the boot from coming off, they would simply have to reduce the swelling. Gomer recalled that ice is often used for sprains. Since they could not put ice inside the boot, they decided to cool the entire sergeant. The coldest place they knew was the industrial freezer in the mess hall. 20 minutes passed while Sergeant Carter sat amidst frozen sides of beef and bags of peas. Gomer and his companion decided it was time to check on their superior. When they opened the heavy door, they saw a shivering Sergeant Carter wearing earmuffs. Gomer shouted to ask if the metal was loosening. Carter, through chattering teeth, replied that he felt a slight slip. He requested a few more minutes of isolation in the sub-zero temperatures. Suddenly, the sound of footsteps echoed in the hallway. It was Sergeant Hacker. Panic seized the group. They could not be caught in the mess hall after hours, and they certainly could not let Hacker see the sergeant in such a ridiculous state. They scrambled to find an exit. Gomer and his friend stayed behind to provide a distraction, pretending they were merely looking for a midnight snack. Sergeant Hacker entered, his eyes narrow with suspicion. He demanded to know why they were there. Gomer explained that they were hungry, but Hacker was not buying the story. He reminded them that this was a Marine Corps mess hall, not a private kitchen. He ordered them out before he had them thrown in the brig. As they hurried away, Gomer realized the boot was still in the freezer. When Gomer returned later to retrieve the item, he found Hacker holding the metal boot. Hacker wanted answers. He wanted to know why the battalion booby boot was sitting in his freezer in the middle of the night. Gomer, unable to tell a lie, explained the entire sequence of events. He told Hacker that Sergeant Carter had been wearing it. Hacker was stunned. Gomer explained that after he had accidentally put his own foot in it, the sergeant had become curious and tried it himself. Hacker laughed at the absurdity, but refused to return the boot.